Welcome back to Lake Placid in the Adirondack Mountains, high in New York State, close to the Canadian border. It's the Lake Placid venue that is the host of round 4 of the BMW IBSF Man Bobsleigh World Cup. And we're ready for our second and deciding heat here. Martin Haven and John Morgan trackside after what was an interesting first heat.
Yeah, Team Justin Cripps, they came out and surprised us with an awesome start time and put Cripps at a chance. He's not far from the medals. He's got a chance here. Third place, he had the first run. Drove great, but had the best start in the competition. When you got the best start in the competition, you usually have a chance to win a medal at the bottom of the track. Next up, though, Alexander Kasanov and team. Well, this Russian's been struggling. His last medal was on this track a year ago as a silver in the four-man. The Russian program's been struggling with start times, but Kasanov, who finished 4th in both the 2- and 4-man disciplines in Sochi, he might be on track for getting on his first podium in 2016. But here's who they're all chasing. Team Maximilian Arndt. Arndt doesn't have a great start time in 2-man or 4-man. Had the 10th best start, but he is magical down the track. He took advantage of being the first man off. He won the World Championships last year and 2 years ago. He won this event last year. Needless to say, he's the big favorite to finish off things in the second and final heat here in Lake Placid.
Well, you look at the finishing order from the first heat, and for the top 5, you're also looking at the starting order. Rico Peter came off a 9th start draw, wild ride up to 6th position. Alexei Stulnev started 7th. Simone Bertazzo dropped from 6th. Stephen Holcomb improved on his start draw to go 9th place. Nick Cunningham, his teammate, in 10th spot. Holcomb yesterday, the 2-man winner. John Jackson at the tail of the field, and Kaylee Humphries driving a 4-person sled for the first time ever in World Cup history with an all-female crew. Between the heats, the sleds are locked away in Parc Ferme. The officials check the runners. They use a fine grade of grit paper to make sure there's no...
There's no cheating ever going on up there with those runners.
Yeah, no grease or anything else.
Any kind of lubricant on there to reduce friction. That's what they're trying to do. And, oh, there's one of the brakemen for the German. That's Frank.
It's warming up as ever on a snowy parking lot or a muddy road. It's all high-tech here. And there you can see Torsten Margis, the key to success for Francesco Frugic over the last few races.
He's at 5th place. He's in a striking position for a medal.
Definitely. I think top 6 could get into the medals still. Kaylee Humphries will be first off in the second heat. John Jackson in only his 2nd 4-man race since the Olympic Games in Sochi. And then Yun Jung Won. And we go through the order. Steve Holcomb will be 9th off. And the last to go on what will be the slowest ice of the day is Max Arndt. And that's one of the reasons there could be changes. The track slowed down definitely in the first heat and is likely to do so again in the second, and that should close up the field.
Well, history in the making here again for the second run.
Historic day for Canada, historic day for bobsledding per se. We've had women driving 4-man sleds before in World Cup racing, but never with an all-female crew. It's Kaylee Humphries, Cynthia Apaya, Genevieve Thibault, and Melissa Lottholtz for Canada. And for these ladies, this is now their 4th ever actual load on ice onto a sled, and that is a little bit of a disaster for
but they recovered well.
Yeah.
Saved it, you know, and she's in last place, but this means that she falls off the sled and she's disqualified, the team is, but let's see, I don't think Kaylee knows what was happening behind her.
She will have felt something. She'll have felt the sled rocking and rolling long after it should have stopped, but they managed to haul Cynthia back in.
You know, their whole thing was the start time. They're so far behind at the start because they're 40, 50 pounds lighter than their men competitors, which means they're probably pushing a 150-pound sled. And I'm sure their sled is at maximum weight because it's a gravity sport. And there's a maximum weight, there's a minimum weight in the sled. And, she drives as good as anybody.
Yes, she does. That was a great line through the chicane. She had a really great chicane in the first heat.
And you know, there's a four-man women's demonstration event at the World Championships in Innsbruck.
Yeah.
They're saying 8 teams. If they get 5 or 6 teams, it'll be great. But this is definitely going to open the door to four-man women's bobsled competition sometime down the road here.
Well, we're going to have to go to what the Germans call it. They call it Zweisitzer and Viersitzer, 2-seater and 4-seater sleds. They don't use the word man, and we're going to have to start doing that because
it's pretty tough to get me to start saying four women.
Well, and then how do we deal with brake person? Yeah.
Well, watch the mistake here on the right of our screen. Oh, she just jumps on there and slips off. That
slips off
that little 5-6 inch spot that you jump in. Oh, it's so easy to do this.
Well, you know what is also a factor is the ice at the top of the track is as soft as it is everywhere else, and quite possibly that's starting to clog up those spikes as she leaps on. So Kaylee Humphries and the crew down safe. They lead John Jackson from Great Britain with Jonathan Anderson from the RAF. He's a new man in the World Cup. This is his World Cup debut. Ashley Watson also new. And Judah Simpson on the back handles with his back towards us. And Paula and family back home going to be added to. She's expecting twins.
Well, he had a rough starting position.
Yeah. 11th place, 5:19 getaway. That looks like a smoother load. 5:21 though.
Speed is similar.
Well, let's compare speeds down the track because just saw Kaylee Humphries come down with a slide that was half a second slower than her first run.
This is the team that finished 5th at the Olympics in Sochi.
Yeah.
The driver, yeah. Great hope for the British team. Lavin Dean finished top 5 or 6 last year's World Championships in Winterberg. So the British have got a lot of great athletes in their program.
The young development program athletes who are expecting to move up into European Cup racing.
Whoa, he nailed that.
Yeah, really good.
Nailed that.
But the speed isn't there. 1:12.6 and 1:29.6. Kaylee Humphries was quicker through both speed traps.
So 2:67, he was 1:16.
Half a second slower, exactly half a second slower than the first heat.
But he's opened up the lead at Kaylee to 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say, he went late. He went, it says he went 11th. But
11th start draw, yeah.
So we're just trying to calculate how much that track slowed down after the first 4 or 5 sleds.
I think it slowed down after every sled. It was just not giving speed. All right,
Devil's
Max
Highway,
first,
look at that, huh? Ooh, look at these pictures. Hey, this is it. This is how to get through that.
There you go, that's the Steve Holcomb line.
Yeah, that's as good a line as we've seen in a couple days. But the four-mans, it's easier to get the four-mans to go straight. The two-mans are like a little sports car. They got a mind of their own. These big buses go any place they want.
Yoon Jung-won of Korea finished in the bronze medal position in yesterday's two-man race in a hugely emotional week for the Korean team especially, but for everybody else in the bobsledding family with the loss of their coach Malcolm Lloyd, Goma.
Picture on the front of the sled, emotional isn't the word to describe. I had to interview Jon at the bottom yesterday, and he was, he finished 3rd, he was disappointed, but what a story if he would have won the gold. He was only 500ths out of 1st. The second heat, a little bit of a start mishap. They didn't hit the push spot perfectly.
Yeah.
And,
imagine the tension.
The pressure on him to come down this track and perform.
Not from outside, but from within himself to try and win that race must have been incredible. Exceptional, yes.
I was so impressed to hear that there's so much discipline in the Korean team. When the coaches walk in the room at breakfast, the Korean team gets up and stands up and sort of acknowledges them. And that's why the Koreans are going to be so good in this sport, is because they're so disciplined, and a lot of that discipline came from what Malcolm Gomer Lloyd brought to the table.
Absolutely. 300s in front of Jacko in the first heat. He's 4 tenths up. This is a good run from Yoon Jung-won. That's a really nice looking slide. 55.75. Now that's only 1,300 slower than his first.
Yeah. So I think that there's going to be some movement, more so up in the top 5 or 6. I'd say 10 to 5. We're seeing some snow come in here too.
Well, there were a few flakes of snow. A lot of the track is covered now, though. This new finish area covering that's been erected since last season.
Look at this, is 14 Benham's Bend. He comes down the left side of our screen, and he's going to hit 2 or 3 times, only 2.
Now, don't forget, only one sled has been on the ice since his last run. So the conditions for him are effectively about as poor or as good as they were, because he was 17th and last off in the first heat. Now, for everybody else, the gaps between the runs are going to get bigger and bigger, and the conditions will be slower. Next up, from Whitehall, New York, Cody Baskew, the 22-year-old youngster. David Kremen, Nathan Gilslider, who was in the 2-man race yesterday by pushing Nick Cunningham, and Hakeem Abdul-Sabur, who was on the 2-man sled with Cody. As you can see, few flakes of snow blowing in there.
A lot of family around for Cody, as expected. This is the crew he's had on tour with him on the North America tour.
A lot of noise in that start area as well. Talked to Steve Holcomb between the runs. We saw the team reset before they went. Remember, he said, we couldn't hear. It was like having to do an audible on the field of play in a huddle. He could not hear the team's rhythm, and he said, we need that cadence to make a start. He said, I love the support. We're just not used to it so far this season.
Well, he's only got 400s. On the Koreans at the bottom.
He's only 100th in front after the first heat, and he's only 100.
Lost all that now.
But he's a kilometre and a half faster.
He's going to need to be faster. He's going to need to be perfect here to have a chance to catch the Korean on the bottom. That doesn't look too bad.
500's back, but one was pretty clear there as well. Speed is about the same. This is going to be very close.
Okay, the Korean's going to win here. Juan's going to beat him.
Unless he finds something special in the heart, and Juan does move up the order.
Brian Scheimer looks on, a little perplexed.
Well, again, spoke to Holke, and I said, did the track feel soft? And he said, man, there's just no speed today. Now, everybody was spoilt with such bitingly cold weather early in the training week. The track was like concrete, it was so hard. But man, it was fast.
Look how high he is there. He's had problems there 2 consecutive runs.
Yep.
Curve 3. Where you should probably go in there saying, I'm not going to steer. Well,
yeah,
you got to steer here. You know, can you come through that chicane without touching?
Much better chicane. Remember in the first one, he took the 3 taps, left, right, left.
Great camaraderie in the sport.
Yeah. This week especially.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Spring, first 4-man race of the season. He said, boy, we're rusty. These guys have actually pushed on ice 3 times now. This will be their 4th push together as a team.
They had the 3rd best time in the first run in the 50-meter start track.
Yeah, he said, that much was good. When it was down to me, I was a little off everywhere.
Getting quick and down. Look at that. That's that Calgary Ice House right there. That's very, very proficient as they got in that sled. Cat-like movements and down, and they posted another decent start. 5:04. He was great in the first heat, both heats yesterday in the 2-man up top of the track. Same with the 4-man, but bottom part of the track, he just loses a lot of time. Let's see if he can hold it this time.
Well, he was only 400s ahead of Juan of Korea after the first heat. He's
but now he's
4 tenths up.
But we've seen him lose a lot of time at the bottom. I can't see him losing 3,800s. That's pretty quiet there at 13, 14.
Best speed we've seen.
Nice to be coming back.
130.6.
This is where it seemed like his sled had the brakes on in the first heat. He all of a sudden lost all the time at the bottom. Down to 20.
Down to the 100th
Single
of a
digits.
second.
Single digits. 17.
Oh, 17. He managed to hold on.
Everybody still with those Gomer stickers on their helmets. Every athlete's carrying them on their sleds and helmets.
Yeah.
Well, he held it a much better run.
Yeah.
If he would have done that in the first run, I think he'd been up to maybe close to the top 10.
Well, that's his 4th 4-man drive since the World Championships in Sochi, in Koenigsegg, in Winterberg last year. So it's been 12 months since he's driven a 4-man sled.
Look at the lines and the exit of shady slingshot effect. Then down below in the chicane, the most important, pivotal part of the track, and he's not perfect. And he went from 3,800s up to 1,700s up. That was responsible for 1,500s.
Chris Spring of Canada, the race leader, with 12 to go. Russia's Nikita Zakharov, 12 after the first heat of this 4-man race here in Lake Placid. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching the action. And he had a 3300ths of a second advantage over current leader Chris Spring of Canada. If he gives that away, he needs to keep walking at the bottom of the track and not head back up to meet Pierre Luders.
Good proficiency of the Russians. They're well coached. A lot of discipline in their camp. That's not very disciplined on the exit of that curve too, and that cost him to be laid onto 3, but he came off 3, not bad.
Yeah, flopped off 3, but avoided the hit, so...
Down in 1900s, he's got to stop the bleeding. It's shady. This gets down at 1200s or 1400s here. Ooh, 17, he's still bleeding a little bit, but not a lot.
2 kilometers an hour slow, 1 kilometer an hour slower than Chris Spring.
That's good there, nice and quiet. Boy, they're starting to get through 13 a lot smoother than they did yesterday.
Oh, threads the eye of the needle in the chicane. Still 1700s up, speed not quite what Spring had, but it should be enough.
He's pulling away now. He snuck through the chicane pretty good. Good drive by this Russian through Zakharov on the bottom part of the track.
All right, lost a 10th overall to Spring, but still stays in the lead, and that will guarantee him at least a top 12 finish.
They might make it a little easier on the plane ride to Park City, too.
Well, let's not give the impression that Pierre Luders is an ogre. He just wants his guys to do as well as he thinks they can do. That's what any coach wants.
This is up top curve, too. That's a mistake when you get that split in the cowling, the articulation to max out like that. And then he was late into 2, and he was all the way late in 3, but boy, did he correct nicely.
Yep.
And then here, he had a little problem on the entrance to the heart. That was coming on the exit of the chicane.
Yeah, exit chicane on the left. Even if you don't tap, it puts you way offline in 17. Well, next up, Nick Cunningham, running injured with that ankle injury on his left leg. Casey Wickline, James Reed, Sam Mitchner, going to need to do a lot extra work again. Cunningham's pushing the sled, but certainly not got his normal amount of power.
He's got so many different colors of purple in his ankle he's never seen before, he says.
Yeah.
So the rodeo rider from Boise State, former decathlete.
5:07, that is a big
Good
start.
start for them guys. Boy, a little skid there out of 2.
He ought to be injured more often.
Well, these guys are all second-year athletes, and they're starting to form a team, and there's incredible element of teamwork in everything about the sport, not just at the start, but the way they prepare the sleds, the way they hang out with each other, the way they train with each other, they get sick with each other. Everybody's got colds constantly. You can't take any kind of medication, over-the-counter medications because of the water rules, and so there's a great respect, and you can see when teams start to meld. I think this team is starting to meld.
Triple hit again in the chicane, same as he did in the first run. He was pulling away. He was 300s in front of the Russians, now quarter second away.
This is a good run, and the night train that won the World Championships on this track in 2012 and the Olympic gold medal in 2010. So Cunningham's good run there.
First heat 55.20, second heat 55.50, so again around 0.3 of a second slower.
But he had problems in the chicane in the first run before he got to chicane in Benham's Bend, curve 14. It's named after Stan Benham, the Lake Placid resident. Look how low he is.
Yeah.
So he's either thinking that line is the perfect line, and in the first heat he hit early. This time he was pretty good.
Well, he had the triple tap there, but he had real height in Benham's. He was right up by the woodwork, and that dive down through the chicane, you've got to judge it to the inch. And there's James Reed, Sam Mitchner, and Casey Wickline with Nick Cunningham go to the leaders box with 10 still to go here in Lake Placid. So we had a tie for 10th spot in our first heat. 10 still to come then. We've had Nick Cunningham give us his effort of breaking the tie and breaking into the top 10. And we have 10 sleds still to go. Nico Walter will sit in again at the start of his second run. And the fans up at the top making an awful lot of noise down at the bottom as well. Big reception for everybody. They've been sliding on this mountain since the very early part of last century, and Lake Placid is a small town. In fact, it's such a small town it calls itself the village of Lake Placid. And this sport, this mountain, this winter resort, it's a double Olympic venue. 1932 and 1980 it held the Winter Games.
There's the old track right around that little bridge on the left side of your screen. That's the bridge over the old track on the exit of curve 15 into the finish. I can tell you some stories about that place.
Look over in the background, you'll be able to see the ski towers standing up high out of the forest on the way back to town.
This is the curve 19 at the finish. You can see right to left, it starts to go uphill, and boy, you can lose a lot of time. And there's the old track. See that little gap in the middle? That's the old track, the exit of Shady 1. Now there's Shady 2 right here below our screen. Shady 1, boy, you would rocket out of there with a long, long straightaway, one of the traditional old bob tracks with lots of straightaways. The new combination tracks were used for bob and luge and skeleton. The new combination tracks for luge has more corners. And the bobsledders prefer them old, long straightaways like you have in San Moritz. If we all remember the track in Trevina, Cortina, Dempezzo. Sport's a little different now than it was 25 years ago.
This track, though, retains that spirit. It's a really hard track. It rewards a good driver, not just a big starting crew. And that's why drivers love to come here, because it's that challenge and that reward. Lake Placid, New York, the venue for the 4th race in the BMW IBSF 4-Man Bobsleigh World Cup. Second heat, 10 to go. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching. Nico Volter with a hamstring tear in yesterday's second heat in the 2-man. Sat in the first run and will do so again. Marco Hubenbecker, the tall figure you're looking at the back of the sled.
6'7".
I was just saying to him, pretty hard day. He said 5:19. Yeah, that was a good start. I said, what are you going to do in the second? 5:10? And he laughed.
5:18, 5:19, 5:17, anything like that's great.
It's a good start with 4 healthy men.
5:27.
5:27.
Well, that's different.
Feeling the pain.
Yeah, 900's worse than their first heat. Something happened there. They may be trying to run too far, do too much, but that wasn't what they had in the first heat, which was the 13th best start time of 17, where the guy sitting in the sled wasn't bad. And yesterday, Walter, we're looking at things. He tore the hamstring on the second run, where he was in first place. He fell to second behind Steve Holcomb, who won the gold medal. We're wondering if that hamstring didn't bother him on the way down the track yesterday.
Now you can imagine if you've torn it as you sprint and load into the sled, it's screaming at you all the way down. That's going to hurt your focus.
3,800's behind. He's going to drop maybe 2 places here.
Well, he had start draw number 8, finished in 10th place, which was good damage limitation, and anything he can cling on to here will be vital later.
Dropped 3 places, but let me tell you this guy won the 4-man event the last time around at Berchtesgaden, Germany, right before Christmas. So he'd never been off the podium in 3 races in 4-man. Today, well, he's wounded.
Well,
and this is what happens now. People get hurt. It's the middle part of the season.
Even conservatively, you've got to take a 10th out from the start, which is 3/10 out of each run.
Look at him get out slowly.
Yeah, he'd be in the top 3 if he was healthy.
Well, coming down into the chicane with this negligible start time, and now he's driving with some errors, and look at how he has to climb. See, if you get into that out of the chicane late, you have to climb the wall in the first part of the heart. Nico Volter, the former loser.
Yeah. Might be doing a bit of sitting in training in Park City next week. Stephen Holcomb won't. His sitting in days, hopefully for this season, are behind him. He's getting stronger. A lot of noise at the top makes it hard for these guys to get their cadence for the start, Holcomb said. A lot of it's coming from the family of brakeman Frank Del Duca, who are up from Syracuse, New York.
Syracuse.
He's at 2. Carlo Valdez at 3, and Sam McGuffey on the back handles.
Well, start for Holcomb. 5:07.
That's a great getaway
for Steve Holcomb.
This team is getting stronger and stronger, and yesterday the spirit came back. Holcomb gets his first win in nearly 12 months, 18 months.
Longer, 22 months. 22 months. He was pretty emotional down there at the bottom part of the track when we interviewed him. You know that old expression, he's back.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt he could drive after what he saw him do yesterday. But his last medal in the competition before yesterday was in this sled, the 4-man bronze medal in Sochi. That was as smooth a line as we've seen from anybody out of 13, and this isn't bad.
And he needs it. He's 400s behind teammate Cunningham. He has not got speed on board. 131.7, extinguishing.
Oh, here he comes. This is what he does. The bottom part of the track. He's a magician.
Going to be just in front.
Doesn't get
300s.
So the 2 night train sleds come down. They're 300s apart. Holcomb shows that he owns the bottom part of this track.
Well, both US sleds going to be in the top 10 then, and this is vital to get them further up the rankings for the World Championship start draw. And Cunningham yesterday was the first to congratulate Holcomb on his win, but he said afterwards, laughing, he said, I gave him that one. Tomorrow, no prisoners. And, you know, you've got to beat your teammate first if you want to win.
How cool is this coming through here? A little bit like he did yesterday. A little skid coming in under the take-on, but he was red numbers there. And he ended up in green at the bottom. Did the same thing yesterday. He's just a master on the bottom part of this track.
And look at all the red, white and blue after a clean sweep of all the races yesterday for the USA. Next up, Simone Bertazzo of Italy, 8th place off 6th position at the start.
Yeah, he started 6th, had a better track to work with. He's going to give away a lot of time to Holcomb here.
Yeah, he could comfortably drop behind both US sleds. There's only a 1/10 of a second in it. 16th fastest start for these guys at a 5:22.
Brakeman's head's moving. There's too much left to right energy.
Yeah.
Guys on the sides are pretty casually in and down. 521.
Load.
So he's there 800s down to Holcomb right now.
Yep.
Probably going to be 1500s down at the next clock. And then he's going to have to find the perfect line. Maybe try and follow Holcomb's line down. 15 or 20 here at the next clock. There's 19, worse.
2 US sleds are separated by just 300ths of a second. So basically you're going to beat either of them or neither of them. So you're going to keep 2 places or drop 2 places.
Still 2200s. There's still 2200s on the bottom part of this track. We saw that yesterday in the 2-man. He wasn't as smooth as Holcomb there.
Yeah. Okay, out of Benham's Bend will be the decider.
Beautiful, but he's lost. He's going to fall at least 2 places, maybe more.
He's 4th on split times at the moment, ahead of Chris Spring, but behind the American sleds. Well, even picks up another couple of hundreds. No, 7th fastest run.
So Holcomb now posts his best finish of the season in the 4-man bobsled. And again, he's like 14th or 15th in total points. He needs to get in the top 10 in points. So when he goes to the World Championships, he's in that first seed draw. And with next week's events in Park City, he could do that.
20 sleds have been down since Simone Bertazzo's first run. He was 7/10 of a second slower. The track is not rewarding good driving here today, like in the 2-man, because it's warmer conditions. Yeah.
Look at him climb. A lot of people having problems there with that exit of chicane, the entrance to curve, what they call the heart. They're climbing that wall hard, and it's violent. It's a violent change of direction.
Steve Holcomb, Nick Cunningham, 1-2 for the USA with 7 sleds to go here. Alexei Stulnev of Russia with Maxim Mokrosov, Maxim Belugin at 2 and 3. And on the back handles, Ilfat Sadeev. Look at the wide eyes on the brakeman making his first World Cup start.
5:12 start.
Don't think I've seen such wide eyes since Yanis Minins was driving. Remember that? He used to have the smelling salts before they went off.
Good start time. 5:12 with the first run. 5:9. Look how low this Russian driver is in the front seat.
He almost needs a periscope, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He sits real low.
That's his coach, Pierre Luder, the same way. You could barely have Pierre Luder's eyes above the cowling. Of course, Luder's the legendary Canadian coach. Ooh, that's a late line there. He won the gold medal for Canada in 2-man bobsledding in Nagano.
Still holds the 2-man track record here as well, Pierre Luders and Giulio Zardo.
Oh, that was rough. He got through there. It's still green numbers. This is pretty good. He's going to need to be clean here to have a chance. Oh, he's got plenty of time here. So this will be the leader.
Though, that's not good speed. Both American sleds were quicker exiting the chicane.
It's going to be 15 or 16, 18. So the Russians will beat both American sleds here. 27, good run on the bottom part of the track. So Luder, see, there's something occurring. He looked at that. He said, that's cool.
Yeah.
My guy did it.
That was a good run.
That was a good run.
That was a good run.
Drove well.
I think both Russian drivers have had good 4-man races here, especially when you bear in mind that they're not as familiar with these tracks as they are with the ones in Europe because of the geography.
Now, the Russians have always had some good history in this track. This is up at Devil's Highway 78. Violent transition. Look how he's on the left side of the screen here, down in the labyrinths. He's got to be more to the right, and that means he's got to climb real high here. And
yeah, you saw the runner marks right at eye level.
Boy, the track is very, very favorable. That yesterday they were hitting so hard out of 13 there.
Rico Peter not a chauffeur that you want on an ice track. That's one of his jobs back home. But the guys in his sled, they always have what looks like the bumpiest ride in the business. Bror van der Zijde, Thomas Amrijn, Simon Friedli. And Rico, Mr. Fast and Loose in a two-man and a four-man.
He's got a big lead on the Russian, 900s. And start time should be 5:10, 5:09, 5:08.
Well, don't forget the Russians just started 5:09 as well, so there's no advantage for the Swiss from the getaway.
That was a cleaner exit of one than he had the first run. And that's a little drift there. Bang, and not some straight, but he drives like the old bobsledders, you know, loose, as you say, and hits everything in sight, gets to the bottom, and he's fast. Means he doesn't steer.
Doesn't spend all night in the bar either, like the old days.
Yeah. Well,
1:13.8, not great speed.
Third place in the last World Cup in Berchtesgaden, four-man. Boy, listen to this big runaway bus.
Boom, as it hits 1:33, 1:30.2 rather. That is good speed.
1500s there, 2300s. He's accelerating away. This is a better run for Rico Peter.
Again for Rico Peter.
That's not going to hurt him. Fourth in the World Cup points coming in here. That's a good run, 55.22.
Yeah, don't forget Oskars Melbardis, who's fifth in points, is not racing. None of the Latvian sleds on the ice, so Melbardis, Kibermanis and Zalims will all drop spots. And that helps Steve Holcomb and Nick Cunningham move up towards the top 10 as well. But the top three in the World Cup standings, leader Francesco Friedrich, Nico Walter and Max Arndt have all still to come.
Watch the violence here on the left to right. Bang. And that curve 3, everybody overlooks that curve. But you hit, take your medicine, let the sled go straight into 4, and then into the Devil's Highway. And Rico, not bad.
22 points cover the top three in the world in four-man. Friedrich leads. Max Arndt, who leads the race, would get 25 points more if Friedrich was second and Arndt won. We could see the World Cup lead swap here today.
5:10 in the first run. This is not a good time for this team. 4:97. Whoa! Now, Friedrich is hurt. He crashed earlier with this week in practice. He won the first 4 races of the year, 5 out of 6. Then he came here, did do very well in the two-man competition yesterday. We know he's wounded, but that start time, the athletes he has on this sled, when they go to Innsbruck for the World Championships, I don't think anybody's going to touch him. I think he's going to have a superior start time on a track that emphasizes the start over.
He's already a double two-man world champion. He may end up with a double world championship again in Eagles.
Yeah, the track is so soft right now. These guys are putting the sleds anywhere they want.
1:14.9 though. He had very good speed at 1:32.1. Nobody has been as quick as that.
He's only down to 400s though. This is perplexing. Why only 400s?
Rico Peter could lead. Rico Peter does lead.
With
and
that
yet he had
time,
higher speeds through every speed trap than anyone else.
Yeah, I'm a little confused with those classic speeds there, because with that start time, 4:97. What's the start record?
Yeah, we're now turning out
we're turning our
4:90. Andre Langer in 2005.
Hey, look, he's still happy though. Hey,
well, it felt like a good run. It looked like a good run. And look how the Russian wasn't even on the runner marks there in corner 12. He was right in the middle of them. A little high maybe, but saw the Russian Stulnev come through there. The runner marks were at his eye line. He was down in the belly of the corner.
I think they're celebrating the fact that Lake Placid is now in his rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Maybe too many more tracks he's going to crash on this year.
This ain't Salt Lake City, as Tony Carlino, the track boss, likes to say. Next up, Lamin Dean, crashed in training, rather crashed in yesterday's two-man race with John Baines, but now with Joel Fearon and Andy Matthews.
Well, they better tie up that shoelace.
Come on, coaches, spot these things.
Yeah.
He's going to stand on the shoelace. They're not looking, you know.
Oh, I think they're going down now.
No, they're doing the... And the problem is, they don't put the sled in the grooves until the 60-second clock starts. It's going to take 10, 15 seconds to tie your shoelaces.
Rough ride in the first heat. And he crashed yesterday in the two-man.
I said to him, between the runs, we're talking to Lamin and Pete Gunn, his coach. I said, of all weeks, Lamin, this is not the week to give Pete Gunn a heart attack. 4.99!
They had the second best start in the first heat. They're the second best start. Let's see if he can get through here clean. That's a little rough.
Out of
That's
three,
pretty good.
He nearly rolled it in 3 yesterday.
Well, on 13, he rolled it yesterday, and he almost did it again today in a 4-man.
For a clean exit
But
out
he
of
was
7.
flying in practice. A good run here. He could get his first medal ever.
Little wild. 1:15.4, top speed. This is a very good run so far from Lamin Dean.
This is where his problem is, right there, and he got through there clean this time.
Tidied it up. Okay, let's look at the speed in the chicane. 1:32.
This is good.
1:31.6, losing a little bit of pace, but he still has a 1700s lead over Rico Peter.
Down to 10. This is going to be single digits.
Challenging for medal. He was 1300s out in the first heat. He leads by 200s. Is that enough?
The track is deteriorating.
Pete Gunn his first race on the World Cup, and Lamin Dean leads.
Best finish ever.
Yeah.
Right? Never medaled before. 4th place. Best
Fourth
finish
place.
ever. And it could be even sweeter. We got 3 to go yet.
We got Justin Cripps, Alexander Kazyanov, and Max Arp. There are no gimmies in this sport.
We love you.
Goma, we love you.
99 start, boys. Let's get 10 over.
The Queen's Guard.
Yep.
He does for a living.
Grenadier Guardsman. Yeah, the Queen gives him 6 months off. The other 6 months he has to stand outside in the pouring rain. So 3 to go. Great Britain lead with Lamin Dean. Next up, Justin Cripps, Alex Kopax, Derek Plug, Ben Coakwell. They were the fastest starting team with a 5 flat getaway.
What are they going to do? They could do 494, 495 if we saw the German and the British. Let's check it out.
Record could be in trouble.
Both Canadian teams have had awesome start times today. Quick down,
Look at the
precision,
load.
498. Now, this is for a medal. I don't know if Cripps has ever medaled in 4-man. 2-man he has.
2-man, yes. 4-man, I don't think so either.
Lot in the line here. Only down to 1400s. Should be more than that.
Had 1300s in the first heat.
He's lost a couple back. Good lines there. Down to 10.
1:15.2, better speed than we've seen from anybody.
Gonna need it though. The track's deteriorating.
Wow, only a 10th up. This could come down to the 100th of a second. Lamin Dean speed through the chicane, 1:31.
Down to 7.
1:31.5. This could end up with a tie for a medal.
Neither guy's ever won a medal. This is history for one of these 2 teams right here.
Could be great. They might both end up in the medals, and they come to the line. 400ths of a second in front.
Hey, Cripps, he nailed it down in the chicane.
Yeah.
So Justin Cripps, welcome to the podium in 4-man bobsled.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. What a start these guys gave him, and he didn't disappoint.
You know, we've had a lot of problems in chicane. Even when you come straight through there, you have a problem getting on. In the heart, look how high he gets there, comes back down. Now watch the outlet here, a little late there, and then he he hits the take on too early. This is dicey down here. People crashed here this week.
Rocking and a rolling.
But he didn't steer. He didn't steer, he was fast.
Ben Coakwell looking stoked with that. Justin Cripps and the boys lead with 2 to go. 3 different nations in the top 3 at the moment. 2 more different nations still to come, with Alexander Kazyanov, 2nd place for Russia after the first heat. 1900s out of the lead on a track that is slowing down.
508 first run, should be 503. Where everybody else is going, 506. They didn't improve like everybody else.
They're behind when they sit down. They only had 500s over Justin Cripps. They may not hold on to their silver medal position.
This is the most experienced driver atop of the leaderboard other than Max Arp, who comes up next. So the 2 teams that are down, that are right now in the top 2 positions, hope that this Russian makes a mistake, but this Russian was flying all week long in training. And he's got
not there. Speed is not there. 1:39.
But he's in the green.
Oh no, he's tied for the lead with Justin Cripps.
He's in the green numbers now. He needs to be straight here to have a chance.
500s in front.
He's accelerating away.
127, that can't be right.
6, he's going to do it. He's accelerating away. So Kazyanov will win his first medal since on this track last year. and the Russians get a chance to celebrate. Pierre Lueders, hey, a smile.
Yeah.
That's the first smile we've seen out of him this year. And it's the first medal for the Russians this year.
There you go, that's why. Silver medalist on this track last year. Alexander Kazyanov has not forgotten how to drive Lake Placid in a four-man.
Yeah, well, the guy
What's the Russian for yeah, baby?
Yeah.
That was it.
This is it, 13, that dives out of Benham's Bend, almost like the American line,
Yeah.
and almost snakes through here, okay. Look at the runners. Ooh, a little bit of adjustment there. Comes over on the wrong side to enter.
Takes the hit to push him back to the right, though, for the next left-hand
Yeah,
corner.
you want to be on
That's
the left
line
side
you
of our
want.
screen. Okay, now here's for the gold.
Here we go. First man off, last man in the second heat. Max Arndt, double four-man world champion in the last two world championships, with Kevin Corona, Martin Putzer, and Ben Heber behind him.
It's his race to lose.
Yes, it is.
And he could do it in the first 50 meters. He had a 5:11 in the first run. And I'm sure the German coaches have said, you got to be down there 5.5, 5.6 to his teammates. If they go the other direction, they got a chance to lose. If they get a 5.6 start time, he's going to win.
What he cannot do is mess up the first turn, so he'll get in when he needs to and let the boys behind do what they can.
5.6, there it is. Well, we can go to the bank right now. Going to be pretty tough for this guy who's won the World Championships twice. Won the event here last year. You know, this is going to put him up the World Cup lead, too.
There's only 1300ths of a second covering the top three, and Arndt's lead is coming down.
Yeah, but that's related to the start. Ooh, that's late there. He crashed there last year in training. Still won the race.
Now
he's accelerating away. This is why he's a double world champion, and this is why he hasn't been on the gold medal position yet this year. He's been on the podium every time, but this will be his first gold medal.
Oh, 2200ths is the lead, and that will be enough.
Yeah, Max Arndt proves why he's one of the best in the front seat of a four-man bobsled. Wins going away here in Lake Placid.
Victory for Max Arndt by 2800ths, a 55-1 slide.
Jawohl from Christoph Langen.
Yeah.
Didn't have a very good yesterday. Women's bob or two-man bob, and he leaves Lake Placid with a gold medal.
4 straight wins in four-man racing for Germany this season. First two races to Francesco Friedrich. Nico Walter won in Koenigsegg, Bavaria last time out. Max Arndt claims his first gold of the season here in Lake Placid. Each of the 3 German drivers has won at least once now. Love you too, Maxie. He's such a class act. Christoph Langen was telling us when we were in Koenigsegg that he came to Christoph before last year's World Championships and said, in Winterberg, I can't compete in two-man because I'm not quick enough at the start. Give somebody else a go and let me race the four-man.
Gave it Johannes Lochner. He came in and won a medal out of the thing, the junior world champion.
And that is the mark of a real teammate. He sacrifices his chance of something or nothing to compete to allow the team to get a better driver in.
Yeah, 10th best start in the first run, 5th best. He knew he had to do better at the start. Both German teams did that. Good crowd on it. We're done. We still got a little skeleton for action this afternoon.
Be some wild racing in the skeleton. Men's skeleton comes up. There's Francesco Friedrich on the right. Now Francesco Friedrich finishing in 6th position, loses the World Cup lead. Max Arndt moves up. Nico Walter, though, will be in 2nd place. No, he won't. He'll in 3rd place.
Yeah.
So Max Arndt takes the lead of the World Cup away from his 2 teammates with his first win of the season.
Yeah, he's been on the podium all 4 times. He's Mr. Consistent. Doesn't have Mel Bardas to contend with him this year. Mel Bardas has been hurt, driving new equipment. Hopefully we'll see Oscars next week in Park City. Hope he's back, get some good treatment. But good day for Maximilian Arndt.
Yep. It's a great result for him. He claims victory from Alexander Kazyanov and Justin Cripps. 5 nations in the top 5 with Lamin Dean and Rico Peter just a fraction out of the medals. Friedrich in 6th position. Steve Holcomb, Nick Cunningham both outdrove their start draws here despite the soft conditions to finish inside the top 10. Chris Spring 12th in his first four-man race of the year, and John Jackson returns ahead of Kaylee Humphreys with an all-female crew making history here in Lake Placid. Well, John, so many stories to talk about this week. It will be the weekend that we will always remember. because of the sad loss of Goma, but racing goes on as he would expect it to, as he would demand it to. And the snowball fighting goes on as well. What's that? Dads versus lads? At least the lads have got some cover.
A decent crowd out here today.
Yeah, good crowd on hand.
Perfect conditions.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd be wanting to be out here in -22 all day long like it was during training.
Yeah. You can see the roof, the track's pretty well covered. Yeah. You're looking at shady too. Look at the labyrinth down below. That's just, you know, you don't get that perspective when our cameras are in close. When you see it like this, you got to realize how these guys negotiate these tight, quick turns on these bobsled tracks at 75+ miles an hour, especially in these big 4-man buses.
They come off that big corner there, shady too, doing over 75 and accelerating hard through that labyrinth. They're making turns at speeds that you wouldn't in a road car in the dry.
This chicane, to me, is one of the best shots on tour. Yeah. With the sled dropping down, you see how they drop down out of an elevation point, and then they come at you, go uphill a little bit, and you can see it's not straight through there. I mean, these guys to feather themselves through that spot. The race is won and lost a couple different places on the track. This is the final spot here.
It's almost like a humpback bridge. They dive out of Benham's Bend, then go steep uphill, go light over the chicane, and that makes it even harder to steer because you've got no weight on the runners. The thing's just almost flying. Not quite like Cortina when he came out of Antilao Cristallo and made that jump into the downhill run to the final few corners. You could actually feel the sled come off the ice. Lake Placid, New York, 4th stop on the BMW IBSF World Cup Tour, and Max Arndt's first win of the season sees him take the overall lead away from Francesco Friedrich. Nico Walter slips behind Rico Pater, who finished just outside the medals here. Alexander Kazyanov and Alexei Stulnev both move up the order, as does Lamin Dean, who was 4th position, and Justin Cripps, who took the bronze medal. And Cunningham and Holcomb for the USA just outside the top 10 start draw.
They could get in there next week.
Yeah, with, Kibermanis has already dropped out, and next week, and I'd be surprised if Oscar Melbardis races, he will lose another hatful of points, and Cunningham and Holcomb could well find themselves in the top 10.
Which is an optimal thing for the draw.
Well, what about Max Arndt? Came out swinging this season, a double 4-man world champion. He's not been out of the top 3 positions. He's had a bronze and 2 silvers, and now he goes gold in Lake Placid.
He's going to have his hands full with his teammate Francisco Friedrich, though, when they get to Innsbruck, because that's a start track, unlike here, which is a driver's track. But it's going to be exciting to see these 2 German teams, which are, Friedrich, again, is hurt, and it's going to be exciting to watch the rest of the season, which German team emerges at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, absolutely right. Max Arndt may well end up with a World Cup title at the end of the season. Well, there are the Germans in the center, the Russians on the left, the silver medalists, and the Canadians. Justin Cripps, his first medal in 4-man, with a different lineup to the sled. Ben Coatwell with the beard, Derek Plug there and in the back. The big smiling face and the mustachioed Alexander Kopax. Alexander Kazyanov, silver last year, silver again. Max Arndt, gold last year, gold again. Lightning strikes twice here in Lake Placid. Next stop on the tour, week from now, is in Park City, Utah, the venue for the 2002 Winter Olympic Games. On behalf of IBSF TV and John Morgan, the rest of the crew here, thanks for joining us. I'm Martin Haven. We'll see you in Park City.